This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Aloha Friday on the After Party Live. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here from traveling the great distances and the great sacrifice that you have made to jump from the Mark Thompson Show to the After Party Live. Thank you to everyone also who tuned in for the Nikki Maduro Show Thursday nights at 5 p.m. Really appreciate it. If you're here, could you click that like button? If you haven't subscribed, could you click the subscribe button? Thank you very much. I always forget to say it, and it makes a big difference. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks to everyone who contributes to this show. You're so appreciated. Love the emails. I got another one from Teacher Lori. Get some great ones from Julie and Yvonne and Calvin Wong and others I'm sorry if I have left you off, but thank you so much for always sending such great emails and great story ideas. The show is crowdfunded. The PayPal show information is in the About tab and in the show description every day. I do want to thank Delette, who popped in with a recurring payment on PayPal. She sets it up. $20 a month comes in. Thank you, Delette. We really appreciate that. Also, Kathy O, Chris H, Susan S, Deidre L. Thank you so much, everyone, for contributing and making the After Party Live something that can continue, hopefully for a long time to come. Before we welcome Tim Sika to the show at about 1:30, we do have time for a story about birdies. Look at that. Beautiful. There is a new record reached. 1.25 billion birds flew across the United States in the skies at the same time, and that happened on Wednesday night at about 9:40 p.m. I don't know how they know. How do they keep track and know that there's that many birds in the air all at once? The autumn bird migration typically peaks in the northern United States in late September, early October. So Wednesday night at about 9:40 p.m. Eastern, scientists estimate that there were 1.25 billion birds in flight, most of them in the southeast, where they had a northerly breeze behind a cold front, helping the birds move southward for winter. It's amazing. Birdcast. There's such a thing. They're a research consortium consisting of scientists from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, Colorado State University, UMass at Amherst. They have a Facebook page, Birdcast, and they said this is a new record. The previous record, they said, was 1.23 billion birds on September 25th. But no, Wednesday, we had 1.25 billion birds in the sky, only the third night on record when the number of migrating birds surpassed 1 billion. They say they use weather radar and computer algorithms to estimate the number of birds and the direction of flight during spring migration, producing the U.S. forecast for the night. The migration dashboard is up for every county in the United States they have. They take a look at Floyd County, Georgia, near the peak of the migration Wednesday night, when over 20 million birds crossed that one county alone. They said the largest expected nocturnal migrants there are the white-eyed vireo and the summer tanager. The peak fall migration season goes from August 1st in the northern United States through November 30th in the south. So they say it's a good idea during this time frame for people to turn off lights between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. to avoid bird collisions. I had not heard this. Now we know, right? Yeah. There are researchers recreating the effects of psychedelic drugs, and they're doing it using a VR program called Vive. I guess you don't need to take the psychedelic drugs. They could just give you the trip with a VR headset. That's all you need. Researchers from Catholic University of the Sacred Heart in Milan found that cyberdelic VR experiences, computer-generated environments that stimulate visual hallucinations, can produce short-term psychological and emotional effects very similar they say, to those seen with psychedelic substances like LSD or psilocybin. They initially published their work in the journal Dialogues in Clinical Neuroscience. They say they have demonstrated for the very first time that virtual reality is capable of replicating some of the positive effects typically associated with the use of psychotropic substances. Of those effects, they say the increase in cognitive flexibility and creativity is significant. Now they're looking into whether the effects are truly comparable. They've got to verify this on some type of neurobiological level, whether the VR is truly comparable to psilocybin or LSD. They say the data that they collected suggests the path taken is promising and it deserves further investigation. They looked at 50 adults for this study, and they each did two 10-minute VR sessions, one with a calming environment called the Secret Garden, the other with AI scenes for hallucinatory visuals. And the participants exposed to the hallucinatory version showed the short-term changes in mood and creativity and cognitive flexibility compared to those who viewed the regular video. They said the effects suggest digital cyberdelic experiences could one day support mental health therapies, especially for people who don't respond well to traditional medication. So this could be a good thing, right? They caution virtual reality can cause motion sickness, nausea, or disorientation in some users, so maybe won't be for everyone. They also say this should be used in a controlled setting under supervision of a trained professional, just like the real medication therapies. So yeah, the interest in this type of thing, the psychedelics as they can possibly be used for mental health care, is growing with more and more studies being done. So perhaps this might be as good as the trip itself. I don't know. It is time for At the Movies with Tim Sika. Wait for it all week, and here you are again, my friend. Welcome in.
Hi, Kim. How are you
Hi.
doing?
Good.
Hi.
How are you? How was your week?
Pretty good. Pretty busy. Nothing new. Same old, same old. But
All
yeah, I've
right.
been seeing a lot of movies, as is my want.
It sounds like it. And the first one you saw, I have to tell you, you know what? I'll tell you afterward. So I don't want to influence your review of Tron Ares.
Tron Ares, yes.
Mhm.
Tron Ares.
Uh-oh.
I think, based on my experience, one of my experiences of the week, I think I know what you were going to tell me, but I'm going to see if I was right when you do
Okay.
tell me. But okay, this movie is a Tron movie in name only. It's the third in the Disney IP franchise, the big Hollywood tentpole movie being released today. And forget the plot. I mean, it wouldn't even make any sense or point to even synopsize the plot here. But there's just not a whole lot to say about this movie, in my opinion, because there's literally no script here. What this movie has is IP identification, and IP identification only. I will say, however, that it boasts
What does that mean?
IP, intellectual property. It's like
Oh,
franchise.
okay.
It's like a branding, and that's all they really care. They seem to care
Okay.
about in
Yeah.
Hollywood these days. But it's got a fantastic sound design, and it's got a fantastic score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross of Nine Inch Nails. It's got eye-popping production design, eye-popping cinematography. But that's all this movie is, and if that's all you want from a movie, this will provide a feast, I guess, because I mean, and if this is the case in your particular case, that's what you want from a movie, I highly recommend that you see this movie in a theater that is Dolby labeled. And I say that because I'll tell you, if I had not seen and experienced this movie in Dolby, because it's this big visual and sonic assault, which kind of keeps you attached to it because it's so big and it's so bold and it's so colorful, and if I had not seen it in Dolby, I would have walked out after 30 minutes
Oh,
because,
yeah.
but again, the movie has a power in that it manages to like keep you from falling asleep because your senses are being constantly bombarded. But it's an example of everything I think that's wrong about Hollywood movie making these days. It's empty calories.
Mhm.
I suppose in its own clumsy way, it's making an effort to warn us about the accelerated emergence of AI technology, but that's really giving it an unwarranted pass. It seems like an AI script, even that they just threw this thing. They went to Chat GTP or AI and said, "Hey, write me a Tron movie." And so it spit this out. The cast is overperforming, I think, overacting, perhaps to compensate for the lack of narrative or
Mhm.
substance of the script. Who's in this movie? Evan Peters, Gillian Anderson, who I really like, and you're watching her and you're going, "What happened to her? I mean,
Uh-oh.
what is she doing in this movie?" Greta Lee, who was really good in that movie a year or two ago called Past Lives. None of them are really very good here. Even Jeff Bridges, who starred in the original 1982 Tron as he plays his character Kevin Flynn, the former CEO of Encom, who sacrificed himself in the grid, which I don't even want to go into, but he appears for a scene or two only as blatant fan service and for
Yeah.
no real other apparent reason. And if you think about how this character here has been inserted, even if you're a fan of the original Tron, which I am, it's kind of insulting because the implication is that the target audience for this movie is stupid. Like
Mhm.
they won't care if it has any other relevance other than the fact that this was the original Kevin Flynn and the original Tron. I mean, this is how bad the script is. So to further kick somebody when they're down, when I was watching this movie, I've been reading a lot of Shakespeare lately, but this movie, I'm going. This is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Sorry, that's a really
Oh,
bad, cheap, ouch, but no,
no.
no way, no way. And what were you going to tell me?
I was going to tell you that Tony, one of our producers on the Mark Thompson show, he's a huge Tron fan, and he said a double feature where they showed the number, I think Tron number 2, the second movie in the series.
Yeah, which I thought was really not so good until I saw this one. But anyway,
That's
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, he said it was great, and there were fans were cheering in the theater because it was full of people that are aficionados of this series.
Yeah,
And then this one came, and everyone was quiet. There wasn't a lot of cheering going on. He hated it,
interesting.
and it
He really
takes
see.
he
Yeah,
hated it,
okay.
and it takes a
Uh-huh.
lot to get his passion response to kick in. He hated it with a passion. As a matter of fact, even after the show ended, he went on to tell me all the things wrong with this movie. And Michael Snyder did not like this movie either. So
Okay, good.
yeah,
You know what? I thought you were going to say, because I ran into Michael this week at an
okay.
event that we both attended in San Francisco for Kiss of the Spider One, which we're gonna be talking about too in a moment. But yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I can't remember what Michael said. I thought he maybe kind of sort of tolerated it, but
Yeah.
I was like going on about how awful it was. But anyway, I semi guessed what you were going to tell me. But see, even if somebody, like the fellow you just
Mhm.
referenced, a fan and who kind of went even wanting to like the movie, sometimes when you go like wanting to like something, you
Yeah.
kind of will overlook the flaws because you just want to like it
Sure.
so much. But if a fan hated it as much as I hated it, I mean, really, I think it's going to disappear in a week. I think once that,
Nullifidian says, I was looking forward to seeing this, but I think I'll skip it now. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you're curious, it might be something,
Mhm.
you wait till it comes on the Disney Channel or something, or on Hulu, because
Sure.
I think they're going to dump it there really, really quick. It's just bad,
Oh, oh, yeah.
you know?
Okay. That's Tron Ares. Wah, 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 wah. That's
Wah, wah,
Tron.
wah,
The next one
wah.
is the Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Yeah,
Here it is.
I'm a big fan of movie musicals. I'm fascinated by the process by which musicals written for the stage are transferred to the screen. You know, three of the greatest being Sound of Music, Cabaret, Sweet Charity, Oliver and Funny Girl too, I guess, come to mind in that category. But so after I went through all the clutter in my head about what I wanted to see in this screen adaptation of the 1993 Hal Prince Candor and Ebb theatrical musical adaptation of the 1985 Oscar-winning drama, which won William Hurt an Oscar, it's a musical I actually saw on stage twice. I came to the conclusion that after I got through all the clutter in my head, and I liked this movie. Now I wanted to love it, but I think in retrospect it was enough. It was enough that I just liked it. It's a film adaptation of a theatrical piece, a Broadway musical, which are very difficult to pull off successfully. It was written and directed by Oscar-winning screenwriter Bill Condon, and it's about a heterosexual political prisoner played by Diego Luna who shares a prison cell with a gay window dresser played by Tona Chu. That's like Cher. He goes by one name in a star-making performance. Actually, his character is convicted of public indecency, but while sharing this cell, they form this bond based on the gay man's love of Hollywood musicals, starring his favorite screen diva, played and sung by Jennifer Lopez, scenes which he recounts to his cellmate to distract him and himself from the horrors of this political, prison that they're trapped in. So the film moves between this stark political prison drama and lush Technicolor dreamscapes that the one character is, evoking for their distraction. Sometimes it feels as though, in the striving of staying faithful to and capturing the theatricality of a Broadway musical while making sure that the film has a cinematic sensibility, a movie, and this movie, it falls short a little bit because it becomes neither. It's sort of like it's a laudable aspect of the film that they were going for that maybe, but the problem is that it falls somewhere in the middle of those two things. Like it's neither like particularly cinematic, it's neither particularly theatrical. So but I'm allowing in this case to give way to my liking of film musicals to sort of overlook any perceived flaws that other critics are arguing that this film has. And one of the pluses of the film, because it basically deals with gender and identity and sexual fluidity, the changes made from Broadway show to this 2025 movie adaptation or update, they're more reflective of the kinds of public debate and political discussions that these topics are currently generating in those circles. So I think that was a plus about the movie. So what am I basically saying? For fans of movie musicals, with maybe a little bit of bite and some political teeth, I recommend this movie. I liked it. I wanted to love it, but the performances and the epic effort required to pull this kind of movie off in a way that would result in a great film, even though by that standard, one can argue that this film falls short. Despite all of that, I think it's still a good enough movie to recommend. And if you've never seen the 1985 dramatic version, or you've never seen the play, you may just think it's fabulous. I sometimes I think I've seen too much. I should just look at this movie I'm about to see without any baggage, but I can't always get rid of the baggage.
Yeah, you come to it from your personal experience, so you can't do that. Yeah.
But I do recommend it. Jennifer Lopez she's so beautiful. She dances like nobody else. She sings great. I mean, there's a lot to like in this movie. So I
heard Ben Affleck is involved in the production team or the behind the scenes of this movie, and he said this movie wouldn't have been made without Jennifer Lopez. He said she was born for this role.
Yeah, she was. I think as far as movie stars go, I think she's the only one that could play it. Chita Rivera, who recently passed away, she was a great, she never quite made the transition to movies, but she was a great Broadway singer actress. She originated the role. So it's interesting because Lopez came into it with a little like, God, I don't know if I could be as great as Cheetah Rivera was on
Yeah.
stage. But you know what? Just, forget Cheetah Rivera. If you just look at Jennifer Lopez and what she does and what she achieves, what she accomplishes, she's fabulous in the movie. But yeah, she is the reason I think this movie will probably make whatever money it makes, because she's got a huge fan base, and I think it was genius that they cast her. She's great casting. Yeah.
That's great. I love her.
Yeah.
I love seeing some success for her.
Yeah, I love her. Yeah.
Next one is called Roofman.
Roofman. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'll just lay all my cards on the table. This is a good film, Roofman, but the way in which it's being marketed is another example of what I can't stand about movies today. The trailer for this film, if I had seen the trailer for this film, which makes you think that what you're about to see is some sort of dumbass action comedy, I wouldn't have seen it. But when I saw the director's name is Derek Cianfrance. I know his previous work. I think this is like only his third feature, but he directed and wrote a movie called Blue Valentine, which I loved, and The Place Beyond the Pines, which I really liked. He's a very fine filmmaker. If it weren't for his name, I wouldn't have covered Roofman, because I'm thinking, geez, from the trailer, this just looks like nothing. But when I saw his name, I thought to myself, no, there's got to be a little more here. And I was right. This movie is anything but the dumbass action comedy that they want you to think it is. It's a character study based on a true story and a kind of a biopic of this guy. I never heard of him. Jeffrey Manchester, his name was. He's played by Channing Tatum. He's a former U.S. Army Reserve non-commissioned officer turned criminal fugitive, known colloquially as Roofman, because of his propensity to steal from McDonald's restaurants after breaking in via those stores' rooftops. So he's called Roofman. He was eventually caught. He was sent to prison, but he escaped prison because everybody liked him, and I'm going to get to that. Everybody loved this guy. I mean, he was but he escaped by hiding underneath a prison truck, and once out, he evaded further capture. He was out for a long time by hiding in the wall or the roof of a Toys R Us store. It's like one of those stranger than fiction stories, and it turns out that this criminal was this really nice guy. People really liked him. He was friendly. He was empathetic to the people he was robbing. He was concerned about their welfare in a really genuine way. It's this movie about a criminal that's also kind of weirdly sweet, if that makes any sense. And it's Derek Cianfrance, the director and the writers. It's his most potentially commercial movie. I think for general audiences, certainly his most accessible, and happily proves to me anyway that he did not sell out. I thought he was like selling out but he made a very different, somewhat unique movie in line with what I always thought were sharp and very specific artistic sensibilities. This is a very good movie. It's an interesting movie, probably Channing Tatum's best acting performance. Oh, and Kirsten Dunst is superb as Manchester's love interest. She's always a fine actress, but she's one of those actresses that, for me, her craft and her talent grow as she ages. And also as she ages, she looks more and more beautiful. She's always a very beautiful woman, but she's really, because she's still got that beauty, but there's like a depth and a wisdom that comes with age. And she's wonderful in this movie. So I highly recommend this movie, especially if you're looking for something a little different. This is a different kind of movie. And Channing Tatum. Oh, who else is in it? I can't think of the other cast right now. But anyway, it's a very
Peter Dinklage, Juno Temple.
Juno Temple. Yeah, Peter Dinklage I always forget Peter Dinklage's
Stanfield.
name. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're all terrific, and the movie makes you think too about, like, you can never justify what this guy did, but he kind of did it, in a kind of like a Robin Hood way, like where
Mhm.
he was stealing and stuff, but it really kind of was more for other people, more for his family than himself, kind of thing. I
Yeah.
mean, which never justifies that kind of criminality. But it's just it presents this like fine line between like thievery and I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Being when you give, when you give to people, what is that called when you have
Kindness,
money? No, it's what the
philanthropy.
rich. Philanthropy, yeah,
Okay,
philanthropy. That's the word I was
we
looking
got there.
for.
We got there.
Yeah,
It
we
was
got
good.
there. I know. My head is too jammed today. Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
I'll
So
see
it's a
this
good movie. I
one.
reckon.
I love Channing Tatum, and I'm interested that when you say this is his best acting performance yet.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely
Okay.
is, and it takes advantage too of his natural. He's got this natural charm on
Mhm.
screen, and they really play that up well. And he's
Yeah.
very, very well cast. Yeah, I think it's his best screen performance yet. Yeah.
Awesome. The next movie you have, this one you said's on Amazon Prime, and it is called Lily.
Yeah, this is another worth seeing movie, and
Is
it's
this the right? Is this the right?
yes, that's
Okay.
correct, and it's
Okay.
funny, yeah, because it's a movie that actually, it turns out, was released in May, but it's the first time I'm hearing about it. It played a lot of festivals, but totally for whatever reason, it fell outside of my radar. I never got an email about this movie. I don't even know if a local publicist was assigned to this movie, but it was courtesy of the Critics' Choice organization that I belong to that I was able to see it. They're making it available to voting members, which I was grateful for. It's a drama about Lily Ledbetter, the Alabama woman who worked for nearly 20 years for the Goodyear Tire Company and was, even though she was it's a true story, even though she was one of their top employees, maybe even the best in the tire plant where she worked for nearly 2 decades, was underpaid, sexually harassed,
Oh.
and because she was a woman working in a company dominated by men in the American South, was also abused, bullied, and completely exploited. And Patricia Clarkson in the poster plays her really effectively too, and I hope a performance that's going to be talked about more as awards season progresses. This is another kind of perk you get from being in a reputable critics organization. They bring you certain things. They bring certain films to your attention that maybe you hadn't heard about, and this is one of those movies. And Lily Ledbetter, she famously spoke. I remember this because they start the movie off with this. I remembered it when I was watching it, but I almost forgot it. She famously spoke at the 2008 Democratic Convention, where Barack Obama was the party's nominee, and who, after years of legal struggle, was the reason the groundbreaking Ledbetter versus Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company case that was championed by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Mhm.
eventually resulted in the passage of the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which was signed into law by President Obama in January of 2009. It was the first piece of legislation that he signed into law.
Oh.
So that's interesting. And even though this is a movie that kind of utilizes narrative bullet points that we've seen many times before in other movies, it's like about the little guy fighting a corrupt legal and corporate behemoth. It's a story that I think should be seen by anyone unfamiliar with it. And it's a film that should be shown in schools to young people because it provides great insight into the inner workings of the law, the politics behind all that, how the law is practiced. It's just how sometimes it takes years and years of setback and being, abused by the media, painted as some kind of witchy, whatever. Anyway, Patricia Clarkson, as always, is fantastic. And and it's also a movie that has a timely quality to it because watching it to me seemed to signal the end of a SCOTUS that no longer serves the U.S. or its Constitution, because this happened on where the court was split but that one vote could determine the outcome. Now it's like all
Mm,
like, it's like what, 5, 6 members that are,
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, but it's an interesting movie. I recommend it. It's streaming now on Amazon. I don't even think it opened theatrically in the Bay Area.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so weird that it's such a good movie and it never really made it in the theaters.
I don't, you know what? Who knows? I mean,
Okay.
there's, who knows why that is? It's politics. I found out recently during this week, when I attended this event, I was talking to the film director of Kiss of the Spider Woman, uh, Bill Condon. And I asked him about distribution and stuff. And he was saying that, for example, a distribution company like Focus Features, which is like the independent wing of Universal Pictures. I said, why, I asked him point blank, I said, why didn't like Focus release this? And he said, sometimes these companies want to release your film, but they have like a slate that they can't go past. In other words, for whatever reasons, mostly economic, these distribution companies can only release a certain number of films.
Oh,
So it didn't have any, that doesn't necessarily have, so to your point, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the quality of the film. It's just sometimes the timing is off. Maybe if Lily would have been released, a year before or a year after, maybe we would have heard of it. Who knows? It's complicated, this business. Really, really complicated.
Rev P says should be mandatory viewing for the Manosphere.
For the Manosphere,
Yeah.
brilliantly stated. I totally agree. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the next one is John Candy, I Like Me.
Yeah, John. Yeah. Oh God, I love this movie. This is a loving.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes, I know. I really, I got teary-eyed watching this movie. This is a loving, endearing, and deeply affectionate portrait and documentary about the life of actor-comedian John Candy. It's directed by actor Colin Hanks, son of Tom. And it's a really wonderful movie about the life and career of, according to most accounts, was one of the kindest, sweetest, most caring, most generous, and most loving of anybody who's ever worked in show business.
Wow.
Sometimes these movies tend towards hagiography. They tend towards like presenting the subject in the best possible light. They went into Candy's dark side here, but in the end, this guy emerges as somebody you really, really wished you could have known. I mean, most of the people who worked with Candy and who knew him attest to that in this movie. People like Bill Murray, Catherine O'Hara, Macaulay Culkin, Conan O'Brien, Mel Brooks, Tom Hanks, Dan Aykroyd, Steve Martin, Martin Short. Everybody who worked with this guy loved this guy, and for good reason. I mean, by all accounts, he was a wonderful father. He was a generous performer. Catherine O'Hara says something about him which seemed to sum up his generosity as a performer. She says he was someone who was exceptional in a business and a craft that emphasized ego, in that he was so talented and so overwhelmingly strong in presence, but not in a way that intimidated his fellow actors, which is an amazing thing to say about an actor from another actor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So the movie goes into detail into his life, his astonishing career. I really didn't know much about his background, how his upbringing and the death of his father from a heart attack at age 35 when Candy was only 5 years old, how that informed his later life and career. I knew his movies, I knew his work in SCTV, all that stuff, but little else. Certainly I was unaware of how beloved a person he was. So, if you love biography, if you love comedy, I think you will love this movie. And Kim, among other things, you watch this thing and it really genuinely makes you wish that you could have known this guy, or at least for a fleeting moment have been able to have at least crossed paths with him. I love this movie. It's a wonderful movie. And it's on I believe it drops on Amazon today. So yeah,
perfect. This is
easy
great.
to see.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Your classic movie recommendation of the week. I know people are waiting for this one. is one that I've actually seen and seen multiple times
So have
and
I. Yeah, yeah,
love. And
yeah.
talk about weepy. Oh my god.
I know. I
Can't
know. Are you
can't
coming
get
up? Should I say it? I'll wait for
can't
the
get
come up.
enough. Go ahead.
Steel Magnolia. I was really in a mood this week for like a comedy because this is a funny movie too, but a comedy that was tinged with some tragedy.
Yeah.
So I put on Steel Magnolias from 1989, which has got to be at least the 10th time I've seen it. What can I say about this? The screenplay is by this guy, playwright Robert Harling, and it's based on his 1987 off-Broadway play, Steel Magnolias, about the bond a group of women share in a small town southern community and how they support each other, how they cope with tragedy, and regularly convene and, you know, like talk shop in the beauty parlor of one of these women. And yeah, you know, this is, I don't, Steel Magnolias, in my opinion, is not a great film. There's something about it that falls short, which I've never, ever really been able to determine. But the story and the incredible cast make this, especially if you're in the mood for a comedy that also generates some really heartfelt emotion. This is a movie. Both those things make this a movie to see. And I keep returning to it as a favorite. So to me, that justifies it as some sort of classic in my book anyway. And I mentioned the cast. This is a powerhouse ensemble of female talent. Dolly Parton, who is a much better actress than she's given credit for. Not that she's ever diminished as an actress. She's a wonderful actress. Olympia Dukakis is in this, Shirley MacLaine, Sally Field, Daryl Hannah, and in a role that made her a star, Julia Roberts. She was very young when she appeared in this. She got her first career Oscar nomination for this movie. She plays Sally Field's headstrong daughter, who is, when the movie begins, on the verge of getting married and very badly wanting a child, but who also suffers from severe diabetes. And the play, and by extension this movie, is based on the screenwriter's sister, who passed away in 1985 of complications from type 1 diabetes. So it's a very personal story for the author of the play and the screenwriter. And this movie, I don't know what it is about this movie. It just sits well upon the viewer. I've watched it many times. The dialogue is punchy and funny. It boasts this gorgeous music score by Georges Delerue, who's one of my favorite film composers. And you know, and it features a scene. I'm not going to give anything away for people that haven't seen it, but it features a scene which, when viewed in context of the movie, to me justifies the existence of the film, despite whatever it is that I'm unable to articulate or the film's flaws. It's what I call the why scene. It's one of the greatest examples of movie acting from Sally Field that you'll ever see. And I don't want to give anything away, so I really don't want to go into the detail why this particular scene justifies the existence of the movie, in my opinion, except to say that it superbly demonstrates that fine line between tragedy and comedy, how those two emotions exist side by side in all of us. And when as magnificently portrayed as they are in this movie, in this scene, have you crying in one moment, and then without any transitional awareness, have you laughing your ass off. It's called the why scene. It comes near the end of the movie. I can watch. I've actually watched that.
Yeah,
I've watched that scene separately from the movie over and over because I think it's so brilliant. So anyway, this is the movie to watch this week if you're looking for laughter, sadness, and a bevy of goddess actresses doing what they do best. The women in this movie are just, they're beyond,
incredible.
Superlative adjectives. They're just, yeah. So that's my classic movie recommendation. And I'm glad to know you've seen it many times as well.
I really like this one. I'm reminded of how much I love the funeral scene in this movie.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it. There's so many great lines, but when Olympia Dukakis character, I can't remember her name. Anyway, I can't remember her name, but Shirley MacLaine plays a friend of hers.
Mhm.
And Olympia Dukakis does this thing which really sort of humiliates her in this moment in the movie of like supreme sadness. And I remember she looks at her and she goes, "Are you high?" Oh, Clarice is her name. She goes, "Are you high?" And anyway, she's, "Let go of me. You know, you can, hit this woman, hit this woman." And then she says, "You are a pig from hell." I've actually used that line a couple times in conversation with people who have frustrated me. Anyway, it's got great lines like that delivered by these brilliant actresses. Yeah, I just love this movie, and yeah, I'll continue to revisit it over and over because of the way it makes me feel. Yeah.
Yeah, Steel Magnolias. And the year from Steel Magnolias was 1989.
1989. So
Yeah.
that's 36 years. That classifies it as a classic. Yeah.
All right, Steel Magnolias. So let's do the recap, my friend. Here we
Okay.
go. Tron Ares. You said.
Ah! I said just don't go see it. Yeah.
You said it's a Tron movie in name only. You said there is no script here. It seems like AI wrote it. Good design and good soundtrack. And so if
Yeah.
you're going to go for that, you should see it in Dolby if that is what your appeal is. But you said this manages to keep you from falling asleep because it's kind of a busy movie. But you said it has empty calories. It's everything wrong with Hollywood is displayed in Tron Ares. The cast is overacting. None of them very good here. You said it's insulting to Tron fans, and you said of this movie, no way.
Yes.
Kiss of the Spider Woman. You said of this movie, you wanted to love it, but instead you just liked it. You said if you like movie musicals, you recommend seeing this movie. You said it's good enough, and you recommend it. Tim Sika, good enough, you said.
Yeah, good enough.
Roofman, you really like this movie, Roofman. You said the trailer is inaccurate, so don't be looking at the trailer and think that's what you're going to see. You said it's a very good movie. It's very interesting that it may be Channing Tatum's best acting performance. You loved Kirsten Dunst in this movie too. You say it's a different kind of movie, and you highly recommend Roofman. As for Lily the movie, you said you're glad this one came to your attention because you might have missed it. It has Patricia Clarkson in it, who you said is fantastic. It's an interesting movie that you said should be shown in schools. You recommend Lily. And John Candy, I Like Me. You loved this movie. You said it made you a little bit weepy. It's an affectionate tribute to the life of John Candy, and it makes you wish you knew him. You said it's a wonderful movie, and you're recommending John Candy, I Like Me. That comes out on Amazon Prime. As for your classic movie recommendation of the week, it is Steel Magnolias. And you said you don't. This was a great film. I was surprised that you said that, but the story and the incredible cast makes it a movie to see, and it keeps you coming back to it as a favorite. Steel Magnolias from 1989 with what you called a powerhouse ensemble is your classic movie recommendation of the week, and I really like this one too. So there you
Boy,
have it.
we covered a hell of a lot this week, didn't we?
We really have. Yvonne
Okay.
says Sally Field has always been one of my favorites. Her
Yeah.
autobiography is just amazing in audiobook as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Love Sally Field. She's just great actress. Yeah.
Cindy says it's remarkable how Steel Magnolias makes you laugh and cry at the same time. And
Yeah. So true. So true. Yep.
Wes is like to comparing Steel Magnolias to fried green tomatoes, and I think there's some similarities in that. Yeah,
there definitely are, for sure.
Heather says I like me some Dolly too, and I got a question for you. Kind of, Mr. Sika writes Tony S. Thinking of documentaries, what is the first one that pops into your head as far as documentaries?
You know what? It's I'm going to say one of the most recent one. Well, the latest, which is the John Candy one.
Okay.
But one of the ones we talked about last week, the Orwell 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
That may go on my top 10 list. I mean, I'm always hard pressed when somebody asks me a question like this.
I know,
because it's a hard question to answer, but I hope I provided some kind of answer to Tony.
I have not seen this one. Is this one still in the theaters? Orwell's 2 + 2 = 5?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. It's yes, it is. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be streaming very soon. Documentaries usually go straight to streaming because, there's a limited audience for them. But oh yeah, excellent movie. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Tim Sika, thank you very much for coming in and sharing all of your thoughts movie-wise. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim McAllister. I look forward to talking to you again next week, and you have a great weekend.
We will do it all again. Thank you, Tim.
Okay,
All right. Have a
right.
good one.
You too, Kim.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
At the movies
Bye.
with Tim Sika. Always love it. I have a couple of super chats to talk about. Luis with the $5. Don't forget to honor our favorite Kim for National Kim Day. That's so funny, Luis. Who would have known there was a National Kim Day? Technically, I understand that it's tomorrow, but you know what? Never enough celebration for all the Kims in the world. Yes, Jim Eaton says, happy Kim Appreciation Day. And we got a 10 from Cindy, says, love your animal stories and Friday movies with Tim Sika. I know, who doesn't love Tim Sika, right? So thank you to Tim for coming through. And I love the movie conversation that you guys have in the chat as well. I always enjoy going back and reading that after the fact. All right, let's jump into some of these other stories that we have for today. And that includes a Roman grave marker that was found in New Orleans in somebody's yard, and it was left there by the daughter of a U.S. soldier. This guy, and here's a picture of it. This is crazy. This is not where this is supposed to be, right? Look at the Roman writing. This man who served as a soldier in World War II, his name was Charles. He brought it back from the Second World War, and it was recently found in the backyard of a New Orleans home. It had evidently been inherited by this man's daughter and then left there, actually by the granddaughter. This soldier fought in Italy during the Second World War. And the woman told a couple of media outlets that her grandfather had kept this artifact, which is 1900 years old, in a display case at his home in New Orleans. And he died in 1986. She said she wasn't exactly sure how he ended up with something reported missing from an Italian museum near Rome that lost most of its collection during war bombing in World War II. He had served in Italy with the US Army during the war, got married there as well, returned to New Orleans, and pursued a career as a musical voice teacher. They said it was not uncommon for troops who fought in Europe during the Second World War to come home with some type of souvenir. So she thought it was just kind of this nondescript marble tablet, but it was passed down to her after her grandfather's death. So she put it in the garden as a garden decoration in the backyard of her home. And she forgot to take it with her when she sold the house in 2018 to this couple who then found the object in March while they were clearing away undergrowth in the backyard. She said, I thought it was just a piece of art. I had no idea it was a 2,000-year-old relic. The couple that had bought the house, I mean, this is just one of those, it takes, it has to happen just this way. One of the members of this couple is an anthropologist. Her name is Daniela Santoro, and she's with Tulane University. She realized as they were clearing away the undergrowth that it had an inscription in Latin. So then they call in more academics who determined that this is a headstone that was dedicated to a 2nd century Roman sailor and military member named Sextus Congenius Verus. They learned the headstone matched the description of one reported missing from Italy near where it had initially been found. One of the consulting academics wrote in a preservation in print column that was published this week. So they've turned now this headstone over to the FBI's art crime team in an effort to repatriate this artifact to the museum from whence it disappeared so that they can properly display it once again. The granddaughter, who still lives in New Orleans, said she thought about her grandfather's strange stone After the column received coverage from the international news media, she said she contacted the WWL, the where it was published, and she said her ex-husband told her he had seen the story and about this object that her grandfather had possessed, and that it turned out to be a piece from one of the world's great civilizations. So she tells the publication, we were shocked about it, that it's unbelievable how this came about, that Congenius Verus's gravestone made its way behind a home more than 5,000 miles away from Italy. She said, I was thinking we'd have our list of possible people to go through to how it could have ended up here. She said, I didn't really expect to actually find the actual person. So it's pretty exciting to know how it ended up in the yard. And there you go. Crazy how things work out sometimes. How about this being crazy? This lady finds this kind of car-sized piece of space debris. She saw it coming down. It's a wayward hunk of NASA equipment. This happened over a Texas farm. This woman's name is Anne. She said she looked outside her home in rural West Texas and saw this bulky object drifting across the sky. And then it landed in her neighbor's wheat field. She goes to take a look, and it turns out it's this kind of boxy looking piece of scientific equipment about the size of an SUV that was attached to a massive parachute that had NASA stickers all over it. So she calls the local sheriff's department and learns that, yes, NASA's looking for this piece of equipment that had been lost. She said it's crazy because when you're standing on the ground and you see something in the air, you don't realize how big it is. She said it was probably a 30-foot parachute. It was huge. She said when she got a call from NASA's Columbia Scientific Balloon Facility, which launches these large unmanned high-altitude research balloons more than 20 miles into the atmosphere to conduct scientific experiments, she was really surprised. So she then calls back. She left a message with them. They had apparently trouble reaching each other, but there's a launch schedule on the balloon facility's website that shows a series of launches from Fort Sumner, New Mexico, about 140 miles from where this equipment came down into the wheat field. The sheriff's department says NASA officials did call his office looking for this equipment last week, and someone told the woman that it had been launched a day earlier from Fort Sumner. They used telescopes to get information about stars and galaxies and black holes. So the researchers finally sent out a pickup truck and trailer, and they picked it up. But they got some photos first, as you can see, as they're standing in front of this giant thing in the wheat field. She said it was surreal that it happened to us and that I was part of it. Motto of the day. Oh, Valerie. Lucky day for Val. Valerie said a call mistaken for a scam led her to this big prize. She's from Michigan, and she got a phone call that she initially thought was a scam, but she said it turned out to be an important step along the road to winning this big chunk. She told officials that she'd been using the lottery app to scan her non-winning tickets, not realizing that by doing so, she was earning entries into this second chance giveaway. And when she saw an incoming call from the Michigan Lottery, she said she was hesitant to answer because she thought that's a scam, right? Who wouldn't? Well, if the lottery's calling, really, you think they're going to call you and tell you won something? But she said she ended up answering to see what it was about and was shocked to find out that she had been chosen as a contestant in the $1 million electric giveaway. So then she goes to spin the prize wheel September 19th at Comerica Park in Detroit. She said, I was nervous and excited as the wheel was spinning. And she said, I couldn't believe it as it made one last click and landed on the color she had selected. And all she kept thinking to herself was, no way. It was a great feel, and not the no way that Tim Sika said about Tron. She said it was a great feeling, and she's still in shock. So the spin earns her $1 million. And she said she is saving her prize money for the moment, hasn't made any big plans yet as to what she'll do with it. Still trying to get things figured out, but she said eventually she and her husband will likely go on vacation. So congratulations, Valerie. That's super awesome. Do I have enough time? Oh, just enough time, perhaps, to tell you about this self-piloting submarine that is starting this historic journey. Here it is. It's the Red Wing autonomous submarine, self-piloting, beginning an historic mission to circle the oceans of the Earth. There is no one aboard. It's an autonomous submersible named Red Wing, and it's headed out on this voyage, which, if successful, will make it the first around the world ocean trip made by an unpiloted underwater vehicle. It's made by this company called Teledyne Marine, and they are working with researchers at Rutgers University, and they have launched this nearly 9-foot long, they call it the Slocum Sentinel glider. They're launching it from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution off the coast of Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. So Red Wing will then go into the Atlantic on the first of its 5-year mission, the first leg of its 5-year mission, to traverse the planet's largest bodies of water. The mission co-leader said the experience marks an historic moment for ocean science, that they are deploying this robot that will travel the world's oceans, gathering data, and they're doing it with students and educators and international collaborators every step of the way. Red Wing is an acronym for the Research and Education Doug Webb International Glider. Interestingly, it isn't powered by propellers like other submersibles. It uses this energy-saving buoyancy system. The configuration, they say, allows it to sink to a depth as low as 3,280 feet before rising once again on the ocean currents. Not setting any speed records here. It travels about 1 knot. That's 1.15 miles per hour. Max is out at 2.3 miles per hour. So it's a slow mover. After crossing the Atlantic, it'll head to Europe and stop off the coast of Northwest Africa after that, and then heads to Cape Town, South Africa, turning toward the Indian Ocean. And then it goes to Australia and New Zealand before going across the Antarctic circumpolar current, the Earth's most powerful current. The longest phase of the trip will see it reach the Falkland Islands before a pit stop in Brazil and the Caribbean before heading home to Massachusetts. It's got sensors designed to measure 3 data points during its thousands of miles of travels, as well as its depth and the surrounding water's salinity and temperature as well. And then it will send those measurements to the mission team by satellite every 8 to 12 hours as it resurfaces. It also is carrying a fish tracker to flag any nearby tagged species during its travels as well. So this is kind of a cool deal. All that information can be really useful to oceanographers with a glimpse of the portion of the planet that human eyes have never seen. So I love this. I have another picture of it too. The Red Wing. Here they are putting it in. And there she blows. So we'll keep up with that. We'll look at the data that it collects and we'll see what's happening with the Red Wing as it's currently on its long journey. Huge thank you again to everyone who supports this show. All of your comments today, spending your time here on the After Party Live, sending the messages and emails and stories that you see in your travels that you think might be interesting to everyone else here on the After Party Live community. Big thanks to everyone who contributes to this show. Again, Wes, a big contributor this week, Delette, Kathy O, Chris H, and Donna, Susan S, Deidre, thank you guys so much for using PayPal to contribute to this show. And also, I have some contributions with the super chats and super stickers. Cindy, thank you so much for the nice words and thank you for the contribution today. Jim Eaton, happy Kim Appreciation Day. That's hilarious. Luis with National Kim Day. I'm so glad you found that. That's so funny. Have a great National Kim Day. As Yvonne says, please click the like buttons in honor of Kimberly Day. Although mine, I have to tell you, was an LEY. My mom, I think I might have mentioned this before. My grandmother named my mom Beverly with an LEY and her brother Bradley with an LEY. So she tried to continue the tradition with an LEY with Kimberly. So there you go. Okay, have a great weekend. Make it the very best weekend that you can. I feel really good sending you guys off into a great weekend with some great movie reviews, and I hope you have a wonderful Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy your National Kim Day, and I'll see you right back here on YouTube on Monday. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Oh, that sounds like a lovely walk. I'm sorry I'm not there. Up the exit ramp. Thank you, Wes. Awesome.